trying to remember. It's the guy from The Hangover with the beard.
Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
look up Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis.
I definitely. Like, you want me to do that right now?
Oh,
All right, I'll do it right now.
we've got Between Two Ferns with Albert Castro. Here we go.
Let's do this.
Awesome, man. Well, hey,
man.
Albert, thanks for joining me, brother. Really, really, really excited to get you on this podcast, especially during this time. Obviously, these are very trying times. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and a lot of people are stuck in their houses, feeling some depressive thoughts that they probably haven't before. And that's what we are talking about today with Albert is mental health, and also a little bit about Albert as an athlete too. So before we get started, Albert, can you do me a favor? Just introduce yourself to everybody. Just a quick kind of who you are and what led you to CrossFit.
Cool. Awesome. Really quickly, before I dive into that, just a little quick disclaimer, we are talking about mental health and a little bit about my story and how, it's affected my life in a way and how CrossFit's helped me out. But, me and Wes, we are not, doctors or anything like that. These are just based on, my experiences and hopefully,
I'm a doctor
yes.
of CrossFit.
Yeah, exactly. But so just wanted to throw it out there and a little about me. I've been I've been doing CrossFit for this is gonna be my 7th year, I think. You know what I mean? That's wow. That's wild to think about, and time flies. I'm a level 2 coach. I do home inspections on the side, I like to say. But the reality of it is I'm a human being, and I have my struggles here and there with with things and whatnot. And I think this whole conversation that's going to kind of boil it down to is really pretty much how CrossFit has truly been such a true, I want to say, coping mechanism, but I just don't think that that phrase gives it justice, but just a true outlet for me in my life. And I think once we kind of get this going, you're going to see, how and why, first and foremost, what it is and how it, can affect somebody, or how it's affected me in my life. And, if I can, be vulnerable and kind of dive into to some nitty gritty things, very emotional things that happen in my life. I'm just really grateful, and I'm excited to sit here and chat with my coach for the past few years. And I'm grateful to even be able to say years and to know that I've been working with you such a long time, and the trust I've instilled in you, as a coach, as a mentor, and everything in between. I just know that I have to, let my gratitude for you as a human in my life. So thank you for letting me have this gracious opportunity to sit down here and chat with you.
The pleasure is mine, Albert. Well, we are talking about mental health today, but before we get into that, let's kind of dive into a little bit about you. So you are a competitor in the CrossFit realm. That is kind of what drives you and your passion to be in the gym hours a day. What led you to want to compete in CrossFit?
That's a great, really, really great question. I had when I graduated high school, I was kind of at the helm of what do I want to do with my life? Like what is next? Like I really didn't have this, quote unquote, this egregious attitude to go capture a degree or anything like that, to even go to school. It never really crossed my mind. And when that time came, I stepped into a CrossFit gym. I stepped into the CrossFit gym. I was like, well, I know I'm an athlete. I just got done playing lacrosse. My first, my last year of high school, my first time ever. And I got that down pretty good. So I was kind of stoked about it. And I just knew I wanted to, maintain fitness, and, being introduced to CrossFit by Tommy Marquez and early years of high school, I didn't really get too much into it. I more or less used it as a football conditioning program, to say the least. And when I, graduated high school and I stepped into a gym, one of my football coaches was a level 1 trainer there. And I pulled up the day they did Murph. They all just got done doing Murph. I pulled up with one of my buddies. I was, hey, let's go check this gym out. These guys are like animals, man. And then I see this guy. They're doing Murph. I see this guy literally Jeremy Graves. And he's like my first coach ever, and you know, part of seminar staff too. You know, solid dude, and he looks like an action figure, and I'm just like, why is this guy so jacked? And he's like, he's exhausted. He's like, hey man, like what's going on? What are you doing? They you know, they just got done doing Murph. You know, the annual. There was a big group of them. I was like, I want to join CrossFit on Monday. Like what you know, it was a Saturday. They decided to do it. And I was like, I want to join. Like, what do I do? And, you know, he's like, show up, blah, 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 you know, 5:30 a.m. I was like, yeah, you know, because I was taking a couple classes at the local college here in Monterey. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, this will be great. I do it. And my first workout, I'm getting like, I don't know, it was like double under, or it was a jump rope and running around some laps and, you know, I don't know, something like 5 rounds. And I was the last one to finish.
Oh,
And
wow.
I thought I was an athlete. And I'm talking like I had from, you know, 30-year-old, I don't know, moms, just everyone from different walks of life, from 6-year-old women to, you know, dads and, you know, just your everyday people. And they were just mopping the floor with me. And I was like, what is this? What is this madness? Like, what is going on? And it was just something I knew because it was so hard. I think I had this like epitome in the whole midst of getting my butt whooped that it's like, this is it. It's like, this is it. I was like, this is awesome. You know, seeing, you know, I got a jack coach. You know, I got good people I'm around, and just I think the camaraderie of people and everything in between kind of, it kept me in the gym because I didn't really necessarily think or thought I wanted to even compete because I didn't really know what that was. And then you do CrossFit, you get introduced to the open. This is the open. This is what it is. And it kind of seems like everyone's in this hype of, you know, this is kind of what we do. And then you're like, oh, wow, what else is there? You know, what other than the open? And you kind of dabble in there. But I can tell you, it was something that just kept me, I want to say, out of trouble or doing the not so great thing. You know, as a someone coming, you know, out of high school, I was still 17. So I wasn't even 18 yet. I didn't really know, again, I didn't know what I was doing in my life. And I just know I wanted to help people, and the struggles that I endured, you know, as a young kid growing up, that CrossFit, that just like that thing, I don't know, that just everything, all it was, because there was a lot of different things that you know what I mean, in all those moments of time, I just I found something. I found a light. I want to say light. You know what I mean? I found a true light.
Yeah.
In the whole realm of what the whole thing was about.
Yeah.
What Mr. Glassman, you know, started up, and I think, you know, in today's world, you're looking at something like a fitness regimen, like per se what we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is saving lives, and I can't, it saved my life, and again, it gave me so much light in such a, I would say, a dark time, because again, I didn't know what I was doing. I was dabbling here and there. And then, you know, you start to compete and you start to get a little better. You start to be able to do butterfly pull-ups and all those other things. And like, okay, like, it's time. And I never, my first competition, I just jumped right in RX. I didn't know, like, I didn't know there was like you know what I mean? I didn't know what, I was just like, RX. You know what I mean? I drank the Kool-Aid, I got sucked in, and I was like, yeah, this is it.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I think everybody listening has probably had that moment at some time in their CrossFit life where they were probably a little bit nervous to tried it out, and then immediately just got hooked off of it. And then that continual progression of pursuing the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, which is endless in the CrossFit realm, is really what keeps us coming back, is seeing like, whoa, I didn't know I could do that, but I can.
Absolutely.
You mentioned that you were young, you were 17 when you started CrossFit, and it kind of kept you out of trouble. Tell us a little bit about your childhood and what that was like, and that'll kind of lead us a little bit more into, I think, the mental health side of this. So tell us about your childhood and growing up. Did you have a really easy childhood? Was everything fed to you on your plate? Or
yeah, man, I'm telling you, just so you know, a little disclaimer here on the side. I am so joyous, full of joy, because like I could talk your ear off all day about, you know, this stuff, you know, who doesn't like to talk about themselves, at least, in a positive light. But yeah, anyways, I grew up just, at Castro, artichoke center of the world. Kudos to that. Yeah, we grow artichokes, man. This is a spot. First artichoke queen, Marilyn Monroe. So just a little fun fact there for you. I'm a twin. I got a twin brother,
An
and
identical
growing.
twin.
Yes, yes.
Identical. You
Have
guys
you met? You've met
actually
him, right?
look. Yeah, I have met him. He came to the gym and we did Holy Man together.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. He still gives me crap about, man, Wes, man, you still got it. I tell you, coach,
I
he
would.
still got it, man.
I'm not gonna lie. So it's okay if I say what your brother does in the military?
Oh, absolutely. Yes,
So
sir. Yes, sir.
Albert's brother is an Army Ranger in the Army, and
Mm.
he came to the gym, and I felt like I had something to prove because I was Air Force, so I couldn't let him beat me in my gym. So
No, that was a good time. No, that was a good time. I also have an older half brother, but I never got used to saying half brother. He just was my brother. You know what I mean? And so, growing up in a very small town, just kind of a town that, does consist of, some drug issues, also gang issues. Like I think a lot of the local towns do, right?
Mhm.
Just everything has its goods and bads that come to it, and at an early age, dealing with a father, I'm being very honest and very open, dealing with a father who, from when I can remember, at the age of like 8 to 9, decided to make the switch, and decided to go down a dark path for himself, and leave, I would say, leave us as a family. That's the best way I can put it. That's how I've interpreted it for such a long time, and it still kind of doesn't sit well within me, and it's affected how I've lived my life today. And it's just one of the, I would say, hardest things I've ever had to deal with. And he chose the drug path. He went down that dark path of his issues and battles, and I think they stem from a possibly dark childhood from him. And I think when my grandfather passed away, I think a lot of things kind of just didn't sit well with my dad. And so it was weird because, 8 or 9, you can kind of gauge, like I remember, but there's kind of a blurry, it's kind of blurry a little bit. And I remember vivid good times with my dad, like me and my brother, me and Ricky, my brother's name's Ricky, going out. My dad's all-time QB, and me and Ricky are just battling like brothers do, battling it out. Like me versus you. He's a Raider fan, I'm a Niner fan, so it's like perfect. You know what I mean? It is just, we were
One of you
competitive.
was right. That's cool.
Yeah. We're just super, right, me. We're super competitive. And then, in an instance, it changed. It changed. Like, I'm talking like waking up your father, for me, he was everything and more. I'm talking like the excitement when that guy walked through the door. I'm talking like, if I was taking a shower, as a kid, put my clothes on completely soaking wet just to get down to see him first. And it was good times. But he made a choice, and that choice again affected me in such a way that, going into my middle school years, him choosing that life, he wasn't there. He was absent. So there was no dad figure, and my mom providing for 3 boys was kind of like, okay, I have to provide. Therefore, there was a lot of, I would say, time where we were able to kind of go off and do our own thing, and there really wasn't any guidance.
Mhm.
And if we're being honest, getting, times are, generations and generations all differ in so many different ways. But for me, I was being exposed to, not so great things. And at a young age, I'm talking drugs, sex, and things like that. You're kind of like, who do you really turn to? And my mama being stern, and growing up, I was able to have a really profound relationship with my mother, father and mother in one, because she was very understanding, and I give her all the props in the world. But one woman isn't going to stop, things from happening in her child's life, because at some point I think you as a father can attest to this. At some point, you're going to have to kind of like, the world is the playground for all of us. in a way, and we all got to make our own choices. And so not really having that guidance, I kind of, stooped down a little dark path. And I'm talking, from, I dabbled into, a little pot here and there, but like in 8th grade, first time getting high and doing those things. And then going into high school, I'm high school girls. Oh my gosh. Like you like looking around, it's like, what is this? What is going on? And again, experiencing those things and without a father there, I think was one of the hardest things, because I really didn't know. And I'm talking like, we're talking feelings and emotions right now. As a kid, I don't think, if you can really, really put that into words, that's what I'm trying to do right now. It was really tough, because you're kind of finding your identity, right? As you're growing older, you're kind of finding what you like, what you don't like. This is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And when one of, and I say this, when one of the people in your life that isn't supposed to leave you does, it really does something to you. And so it really affected a lot of my relationships with the girls I had. I had a lot of trust issues. And again, I was drinking, I was smoking, I wasn't hanging around with the right group of people. And I think when I finally transitioned into to an all-boy private school, that's when my life like just went
Really?
down. Yes. Yeah.
And what was that transition like, and what makes you say that?
I felt like I lost everything. And I think at such a young age, not really knowing where you go, or in the sense, like I thought I had everything I needed in the world was my school, was my friends, was the girls I was talking to, the things I was doing, and life was perfect. Life was perfect for Bert. But then when all that got to, and I was distracted, not really understanding. All right, my dad's not here. My dad's kind of off on his thing. I'm fine with that. And you start to kind of like develop a shell to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
And when that shell gets penetrated, and I'm talking figuratively, obviously,
Yes.
penetrated in the sense that it gets ripped apart, because all my distractions were gone. I had to start over. And I'm talking all, going to a public school into a private school, all boys school. I just remember sitting in a, and I gotta tell you this, sitting in a Super Bowl champion's office. This guy who was talking to my mother about possibly enrolling me and my brother into the school. And he looks at me, he's like, "You don't have to come here. No, we're not asking you to come here, but I want you to want to come here. And I need to know that you're going to want to come here and you're going to want to try." Cause he saw the tug. I was like, "I don't want to come here. There's no way. I don't, there's,
Take away all my girls and all my,
yeah, exactly.
all my
Exactly. And I was like, this is, and there's stigmas about boys schools, the little, just like, a preppiness and, just, and I did deal with that. I dealt with that. But my mom looked at me, sitting in this guy's office, and, she gave me a look I'll never forget, because it was look at, boy,
You better.
yeah, boy, if you don't say yes, just wait. And I was like, yeah, I want to come here. Yeah, let's do it. but that was going into my sophomore year, and that was when, again, it was one of the deepest declines for me. Again, I thought I lost everything, and during October, around Halloween time, I was super down. I was at a loss. I'd say at a loss, because it was the lowest point I think I ever was in my life, because I decided to take 100 pills. When I say 100 pills, I mean exactly 100. We've all done, in the CrossFit world, done 100 of something, and it's a lot. And so when a 14-year-old kid decides to take 100 Tylenol, and I was counting them because I took 25, and this is the mentality I had adapted at that time in my life, was I wanted to run. I wanted to run away from like the hurt, the just emptiness. And I want to correlate the emptiness with, you've ever just, I don't know, had someone break your heart and you feel like just really this emptiness pit in your stomach, and you don't want to eat, you don't want to do anything. That's what that feeling it was like, but emphasized by like, I don't know, 10 or some astronomical number out there, because it was so prevalent, so there. I'm talking, I was, at this point, I had, you know, self-mutilated myself. I would cut myself, and I was just struggling with these, you know, just this dark cloud over me. And you know what I mean?
Trying
And
to find ways to process the emotion.
absolutely. And then when it all kind of comes ripping down on you, see ya, Bert, you don't have the blanket of comfort, the what you know, and what's keeping you distracted. And when that's not there, and you're like, well, where do I go from here? I hit an all-time low. And again, I counted every pill that went inside my mouth that night. And by the grace of God, if it wasn't for my twin brother, and we shared a room. We shared a room growing up. This is what we did. I'm talking bunk beds, the whole nine. And that night, Ricky he always had the bottom bunk. I don't know why. It was his mantra. And I was cool with the top bunk, because I was like, cool. I don't know. I just like the top. And so, but I had taken those pills, and I laid down on the bottom bunk. And if I would have fell asleep, I would have died. I wouldn't be here today talking to you. And he came in charging, Bert, get off my bed. Yeah, and I'm 100 pills deep, and literally, this is verbatim. He's like, Bert, get off my bed. I'm not playing around. And he just kept telling me, Bert, we're gonna have an issue if you don't get off my bed. And I'm like, dang it, man, all right. And like, I get up, because I was like feeling all woozed out, like, what the heck? I just got out of the shower, you know, prior to taking the pills and all this, and I get up, and I just like a whole just smack. And like, smack meaning like, oh my God, I am like not in the right state of mind. Like, I'm high. I start vomiting, and my mom comes nonchalantly thinking, oh son, like, you're throwing up. And I'm sorry if I get a little emotional, because it's taking me back. You know what I mean? It's like it's such a weird time. And you know, I start crying. I just had this ball of emotion take over, and I started crying. I started apologizing. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. My mom was like, what do you mean? What's going on? And, you know, obviously the conversation ensues, me telling my mom that I've taken 100 pills. And as a single mother who's gone this far with her kids, we're in high school. You got like 4 more years in the world is your playground. You can do whatever you want. Like, I can't. I don't know. It's a tough thing to put into words, because I don't know what was running through her mind. But, you know, she got me in the car, rushed me to the hospital, you know, went through the whole, you know, drinking. I had to drink this flavor, you know, charcoal stuff to get my stomach, you know, to get all that stuff out. And I'm talking, it's like the exorcism in there. I'm talking like I was vomiting 10 times more. And, you know, and there's a brief moment when, you know, you see this in the movies. You literally see this in the movies. This is no joke. A doctor coming in and telling my mother that he might not, the odds of him making it are slim. And because kids take a third of the amount and they don't make it, like a third. He took 100 pills. And I don't think I understood the severity of this is not, you just don't really come back from this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it, you know, I don't know. I don't know what it was or what happened or why I made it out like I did. But I just remember being in this, everything went dark, and I'm in this just cloud of, there's nothing there. There's really nothing there. And I begin to cry, because I see my mom. I said I didn't want the last thing I saw on my mom's face was a face of complete, just like ghost, like no emotion in my mom's face. And my mom is like my number one person in my life, because of what she's endured and what she's done to get me up to this point. And I said, no way. I just said no way. There's no way that this is the last thing I see. And I don't know. I wake up in this and I just start throwing up more, and just the charcoal, and it's just this whole nasty scene. And I it's like that was the epitome of I want to live. I want to live. I want to see more. I want to do more. And, you know, even in that instance, my dad came, and, you know, he looked at me, and he just he gave me a look. And it's a look that I really can't quite remember what it was. A look of man, like just kind of like, dang, this kid really going through something. You know what I mean? And but he just really wasn't just
I imagine
right.
a huge wake up call for him too.
Yeah, that, and I think more for me, and just, you know what, I've just said, I'm no, like, I gotta do this for myself. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, the picture, the whole picture here leading up to this point is Albert is dealing with something deeper, something very, very deeper on a level that I don't. My mom to this day still really can't really wrap her head around. Is this dark cloud of emptiness that does follow me around, that, and I feel like that I do live with.
Yeah.
And so getting to that point, I'm talking. We're going to therapy now. We're going doing all these things, and I'm in high school, and I'm in high school, and I decide, I decided to give the all boys school a shot, and it changed me for the rest of my life. And when I mean I gave it a shot, is I made a choice. I made a choice, and I said, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm gonna be. I didn't have a choice in that, and I want to do something for my mom. And so it was like me, in a way, I like talked myself into it. I'm gonna make this work, and I, and I when I mean it changed me, it just, I started a club. I mean, the vulnerability there is, I thought I saw this opportunity. I saw this opportunity, and I said, I deal with this. I know. Okay, I know. Maybe I'm a little crazy. I'm a little out there, but I know there's got to be. I just can't be the only one.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be the only one. And I was looking around, and you hear the thing where, how you doing? I'm good. I'm good. Everyone seems to be good. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And but are they really good? And I think that's the thing, that is like, I was never really good, but I played it off so well. And nowadays, that's the world we live in, and there are these kids, and there are these just young adults, that play it off so well. Everything's fine, and the next moment they're not here anymore because something happened. And a lot of kids deal with it wherever it derived from. Like, I don't know. I correlate my father leaving as, I don't know, maybe possibly leaving the dark cloud over me, and then me really just kind of not, getting like a ping pong ball knocked around here and there, witnessing all these events in life that a kid's not really supposed to see. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
just some like not so great things. And then here I am. Here I am with a kid dealing with a very true illness, major depression, and to this moment in time, to this day, I'm talking to you right now. I'm telling you the background of it, and it's every single day. I feel like it may possibly be with me for the rest of my life, but I've evolved in the way on how I look at it, how I approach it, my day-to-day decision making throughout the day. And it's something I have to do. And I know there's a lot more people out there experiencing some sort of just, I think we've all experienced it, even a little bit. You know what I mean? Again, the
Yeah.
extent level is, possibly different, of course. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I think everybody's felt down at some point, right? But it's really,
yes,
it's very
yes,
hard to
yes,
explain to somebody the emotions of what true depression actually feels like unless they've really been through it themselves. And it's not that you can
sure.
actually expect somebody to, like, you're having a hard time yourself putting these feelings into words right now, right? And
Yes, sir. Yes,
if
sir.
the person himself who is going through it has a hard time explaining it into words, imagine how much tough it is for somebody who's never experienced true depression to really understand what that person is going through.
Absolutely right.
If you were to take yourself back to that day that you swallowed 100 Tylenol,
Mhm.
and right before you did it, imagine Bert right now standing in front of Bert back then. What
Ooh,
would you have told Bert at that moment?
I don't think I would have said anything. I think I just would have hugged him. I think I just would have hugged him, because I think that at that moment in time, that person, that Bert, there and then, like, was really ready to just let go, like let go, and not live anymore. And I think when you get to that point, I think you kind of just need to know that, like, you need to know that you're still here. Like, because I think when you decide to make that decision, there's obviously ultimate regret. I was very apologetic. I was very sorry about it, but I was like, oh, this is not who I am.
Mhm.
It was like I wasn't myself. So that dark cloud took over so much that I was willing to end my life. And
Yeah.
and I correlated. I would cut myself. And there's like these very famous song lyrics. I would cut myself. I would just want to like bleed a little bit because it would let me know I'm still alive. To
Mhm.
see that, I don't know why. You know what I mean? I know that's might be a little dark, but that just like that sense of that rush, that pain, that stimulus, what it did for me was like, you're still here. Yep, you're still alive.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because that's how my mind operated. It was just like you are bad. Like it just like I was like my constant enemy. Like my mind was telling me I was all of these not so great things, and it literally all boiled back because wow, if your father can leave you, anyone can leave you. And when you put the shell on, you put the shell over, and it's like, hey, this is what your life is. I just think at that moment in time, I would have just wanted, hey, you like touch, right? Senses
Still
back to your
here.
brain,
Yeah, you get the
right?
stimulus of like, I'm still here, I'm still alive. Somebody loves me. I can
Yeah,
feel it. I can feel
yeah,
love. I can feel
exactly. Hmm.
compassion. I can feel care. I can feel these things that anybody who's grown up with a good family life, who's had a mother and a father, or even just a single parent that was able to dedicate time and not have to work 2 or 3 jobs in order to take care of 3 boys, right? Like uh,
Absolutely,
to be able
absolutely,
to give their child that love and that affection and that sympathy and empathy that every kid needs growing up. And obviously you were deprived of that very early, and it sounds like
absolutely.
that's exactly what you were and are and will probably continue to be reaching for. But that leads me kind of into my next question. So you
Yeah.
found CrossFit, and it seems like CrossFit has been such a huge help in helping you deal with that. And I think that there's so many parallel lines that we can draw with the stuff you just said about feeling alive, right? When you're doing CrossFit, you
Yeah.
feel alive. You feel like you're doing something good for your body. You feel like you're pushing the limits and you're capable of things maybe you didn't think you were. What are some things that CrossFit has done to help you with your depression?
Oh man, I think. Well, that was a great question. That was a really good lead question. Good job with that one. It's given me the sense of purpose, the sense of belonging. You know what I mean? Because let's kind of throw a little bit of the variables of CrossFit, right? There's weights. You lift the weights, you do all these things. I think there's so many stimuluses within that 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 small array of a box,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know what I mean? And I'm talking the people, the environment, the workouts you're doing, because I don't know about you, but I before CrossFit, I didn't know what Fran was. I
Yeah.
just knew Fran.
I didn't know that you
Fran
could
was
exercise fast.
yes, I just knew that was somebody's possible name. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And just everything that comes with it. I mean, I think you can attest to this. I felt when I did CrossFit, I felt like I was on a football field again. I felt like I was on a football field. I was like out there. I was an athlete. And I think as a kid, that's why I think sports are so important, right? In a childhood's life, because as dark as it got for me, I still had sports. I
Yeah.
still had football. I still had
100%.
my your group of guys, your boys, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I that in within itself, I think it kind of like whether I got dragged to this where I'm at today. Having that again after high school, I was like, man, like I just again, you've done Fran, I've done Fran, and I don't know, man. Things go a little dark. Things get a little like what I don't. It's just like what is happening right now. You just
Yeah.
I call it like that clarity kind of moment of like I'm right where I belong. I'm right where I belong, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And you feel that effect after the muscles tighten, and you want to talk about being alive. You're alive. You're alive. You're more alive than ever because of a choice you decided to make and take your body that far. And Yeah. Whew.
Yeah,
This is,
man. You're pulling at so many of my own feelings and stuff growing up. You know, I grew up with in a single family. Father,
yeah.
you know, left when I was very young too, and I turned to sports growing up in order to not only find a purpose like you're saying, but to find other father figures as well, you know,
Yeah.
and not necessarily looking for it, but definitely finding people that, you
Oh
know,
man.
helped me out a lot. Was there anybody growing up that you can look back on now and be like, man, that guy really was somebody special that maybe
Ooh.
they didn't even know that they were that special in your life?
Well, I think all the special people in my life know they're special because I think I think I
Yeah,
think I
Bert
think
has no problem telling people how much he loves them, how much he means.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I get
I am
my daily love from Bert. That's for sure.
literally I am just like that dude is like, no, you need to know you've done something profound in the world. Like I'm still here because of you, and it's so true. And I think I've had so many of these, just again, like the school, going to that school. I'm talking teachers, coaches, Super Bowl champions, Chris Dahlman. I gotta say his name because I gotta put him on this, and who just, and I'm talking, I heard this quote the other day because it goes, we won't remember the days, we'll remember the moments. And I have so many of these moments
Mhm.
with these individuals, and there's so many of them that I like, and I'm talking, to this day, I sit here in front of one of them, and I get to have a conversation about life and everything in between. And I think the community part about CrossFit, just, I got to see, and trust me, it wasn't always perfect. I got to see how things shouldn't be done. I got to see how things should be done, and everywhere in between. And there's a lot of details that I'm gonna leave out, but nonetheless, I found family, I found community, I found home, and I think as a wandering soul or a wandering kid out of high school, not really having any sense of direction. Yeah, I had all these mentors, but I still have to make a choice. Wes Pyatt can't make Bert work out. Bert still got to drive himself. You know what I mean?
Try really hard.
Yeah, but I got to get myself there, and I still have to make these choices, and it boils down to, I when you iron sharpens iron, and when you surround yourself with like-minded individuals, that have the common goal in mind, that have a common practice, and you've done it at the highest level in the sport. And I was, and honestly, I'll say this, because I was always I didn't know if this feeling derives back to not having a dad. I didn't know if I was ever good enough to be in a circle with quote unquote Wes Pyatt, because I saw that I saw this guy so awesome and so amazing that I didn't think I deserved it. I didn't think I deserved to be around all these cool people. And that was my depression talking. So, our relationship, when it first started, I was kind of like, I don't know if, you know what I mean? This guy, like this guy, I was looking at a guy I like would look up on YouTube and watch workout, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's right here, and he's talking to me. And again, I think that's where it goes. Like, you spent so many moments with me that were so meaningful for me that, man, you're a big part of why I'm still here and why we're having this chat today. So I just think, I've been so blessed with so many of them. There's so many, and you being one of them. So yeah, that's.
Well, thank you, Bert. I appreciate that, man. And I can understand what you're saying. I remember, going up the ranks through CrossFit and being around people that I would watch on YouTube and see at the
Yeah.
CrossFit games, and having them text me back on my personal cell phone, and thinking the exact same thing that you were just saying of like, well, I don't feel like I'm worthy to even talk to this person, and I
Right.
completely understand what you're saying, man.
Yeah.
I do have one other question for you, and then we got to wrap this up. But
Sure.
you mentioned that one of the really amazing things about CrossFit is the community. And right
Yeah.
now, in the COVID-19 shelter in place that we're in, that community of CrossFit has kind of been torn apart. And for people who are dealing with depression and may rely on that community, like me or like you, I know for me, going to my gym, I might get choked up right now, but
Oh
going
man.
to my gym every single day and seeing the coaches and seeing the people there, that's my family. And that's been kind
Yeah.
of torn apart a little bit. Do you have any advice coming from somebody who's dealing with it right now on actionable things that people can do who maybe are starting to
Mhm.
feel a little bit of depression that maybe they haven't before? Because I know I've talked to a lot of people recently that have never had any type of depression in their lives, have grown up in a great and are starting
Sure.
to feel a little bit of that
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Sure.
of the community of whatever that was for them, whether that be their family or their work or CrossFit has been torn
Sure.
apart. What are some things that you do to help keep yourself feeling good during these times?
I think, and for me, and this is me. It boils down to I say that, and I said this to you earlier in our chat earlier. Is I ask myself, who do I want to be? And I think that's a very important question, especially in a time like this, because again, we all make choices, and what comes from choices comes outcomes. And whether the outcome is what you wanted or don't want it to be, you made that choice to get it to where it's at in that moment. And so really, I asked myself, who do I want to do today? What can I possibly do to still maintain enough control over my life, that it's still my life, and that I'm not living a life that I don't want to be living. Does that make sense? And
Yeah.
so I make sure I stay on my morning routines. Like we talked about, I'm doing my stretching. I'm still, I'm able
Cold
to,
showers. He's taking cold
yeah,
showers,
I'm taking
people.
cold showers, man. Oh my gosh. I still taking cold showers. And every time I get, before I do that, I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Why? I'm like, this guy right here telling me to do this stuff. But yeah, I stay diligent on my routine. And again, it's very like, yeah, easier said than done, but control what you can control. And there's so many things we can control, but we're not even giving ourselves the opportunity to like take that chance, because again, the mind's a very tricky thing. We can talk ourselves out of something really, really fast because it may not be the most comfortable thing to do at that moment in time. So this is a challenge, and it's a challenge, and I'm challenged every day.
Yep.
But I am looking at this challenge like, all right, I know we're gonna come out that much better because of the current situation we are in. But again, you got to make the choice to have that opportunity, so it is better. It doesn't just happen. So
Yep.
therefore, keep your head on whether you need a schedule or not, whether you're good at schedules. You got to kind of again ask yourself, who do you want to be, and what are the choices that are at hand, and make that choice.
Yeah, we discussed this a while ago, kind of when the whole shelter in place thing started happening, and we talked to our coaches about it, about write a letter to yourself
Mm,
the day that this whole shelter in place is let up and you're able to go back into the world, and describe the person that you are then, saying like, because I did these things coming out of this, I have a new skill. I stuck with my routine. I'm still worked out. I
yeah,
still ate healthy. I still like the things that you would want to be at the end of this, right? Write
yeah,
that. And then look
absolutely.
at that list. And from there, write down the things you got to do every day. And one of the things that's been really rough for me and my family is that the schedule has been all over the place. We're trying
Hmm.
to figure this
Hmm.
out and get the kids
Yeah,
figured out and get into some type of routine. And it
yeah,
hasn't happened until this last week when Megan finally went back to virtual work. So she's teaching,
mm,
but she's doing it virtually. And
sure.
it forced us to get back into a schedule. All of a sudden, Joey's not throwing fits like she used to. June is sleeping like way better than she ever has. I'm in a better mood. Meg's in a better mood. And it was all because we were finally able to dial in the schedule every day. So I think
Yeah,
that you're right, Bert. Like having a routine that you do every single day, thinking about the person that you want to be at the end of this, and then asking yourself, what are the things you need to
yes,
do to be that person? And then
yes.
doing that stuff. One other thing I think it's really important too, and this is something you've done a great job with. I'm sure if we turn around your screen somewhere, there's a C2 bike sitting inside of your room, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's actually in my living room, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So,
absolutely.
but setting up your environment to make those things that you want to do to be the person you want to be coming out of this very easy, right? And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
if I got a bunch of cookies in the cupboard and a bunch of ice cream in the freezer, it's going to be really
Hmm.
easy to be that person. But instead, if I have a bunch of kale and a bunch of, broccoli,
Yeah.
you could be that person too, or a C2 bike, That helps too.
Exactly. And if I can just add just one last thing, and then I'll let you go here, is I think I want to leave everyone with this in that this is one of the, I think, rarest opportunities that, although it may not be the best circumstance, but one of the best opportunities for us as like a human species of people to really have this like deep and emotional time with ourselves. Like I'm talking like with yourselves, and again, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, and like you gotta ask yourself those questions, those tough questions, and what do I want? How am I, gonna attain that, and what are the choices I'm gonna make that's gonna get me there? So thank you so much, Coach. Make all those good choices. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you. Thank you for letting me share my story and with my awesome village of people that I have behind me. And I love you, man. Thank you so much.
Love you too, Bert. If anybody wants to get a hold of you or maybe has any other questions, where can they find you?
Either on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram. The social medias are. I wouldn't mind. If you reach out to me on the social media platform, we can chat there. So.
What's your Instagram handle?
Oh, I was wondering too, because I don't see, but I have the phone right here. It is albert.castro.11. Check him out. All right.
Okay.
On there.
He's an amazing resource, you guys, in the form of he is one of the best listeners that I've ever come across, and one of the most genuine people I've ever met. So thank you so much, Bert, for allowing me to be part of your life and for doing this podcast with us. And I hope to have you back on soon. Maybe when this whole thing's over, we could talk about how your experience was through this.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime, man. Anytime you want to talk, get me on here. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thank you, Bert.
Yes, sir. Bye.